What is going on, and welcome to our 2024 Whiskey of the Year video. I know it's already February, but we are just getting to this. Listen, we have 10 whiskeys that a lot of people have in their top 10. So we're going to pour these up. We're going to do it blind. We're going to have my wife come down and pour these up. And the way that we're going to do that is we have an A on the bottom here. A, B, C, D, E, F. Then we have this one right here is a B with a triangle on the bottom. This one over here is a C with a dot. Then we have a B with a dot and a C with a triangle. She's going to come down. She's going to randomly pour these up. Maybe she'll put this one over here in D. She'll write that down. That way she'll fold this up. I'll have no idea what it is. And that's how we're going to do it blind. Let's get into these bottles that we have right here. This is the Wild Turkey 70th Anniversary Edition. Love this bottle. I think when it comes to the price, the availability, this might be my whiskey of the year, but we're going strictly off taste. Bardstown Am Root. This is Russell's Reserve 15, which was a lot of people's whiskey of the year. I threw this one in here. This is Barrel Bourbon Cask Finish Series. This is the ice wine. That was absolutely a fantastic pour. I wanted a 10th bottle in here anyway, and I think that's a sleeper pick. Then we have our samples over here. Four Roses LE, obviously 2024. Stag Junior 24A. Then we have the GTS from 2024. This is Kevin VA that hooked me up with all of these. Old Forester 13, the VVS, another pick that a lot of people had for their 2024 Whiskey of the Year. Smoke Eye Hill, the GTS killer. We're going to find out about that. And then, of course, this is the 13th Colony's Double Oaked. This was another fantastic release, and I am glad that I have a sample of this as well to put in this contention. But as I mentioned, we're getting my wife down here. We're going to drink through these. I'll probably edit a lot of this out because this is going to take a very long time and we're going to drink a lot of whiskey. Let's get her down here to pour these up.
That was a lot of work pouring up all of these samples. Let's see what the bourbon of the year is going to be. I'm excited. Just gotta fold this paper up.
She told me it was hard. She didn't do it perfect, but she did her best and then made sure that I'm not drinking all of it. We're not drinking all of it. So I don't normally have water because when I'm trying to compare whiskeys that are very similar, I like to find the nuance between them. But when you have this many whiskeys, you got to clean out your palate. But let's start over here. We're going to start with glass number one. We're going to go straight through. We're not really going to guess what they are. I don't have blacked out Glens. I thought I was going to be able to tell the 13th Colony's Double Oaked, but some of these are very dark and the lighting's not helping me from my angle. So it might be this one. It might be this one over here. I do like that I don't know exactly which one's which. But let's start over here. We're going to take some notes as we go. Time for the traditional sip. Cheers, y'all. We'll have to go. Fantastic whiskey. I just labeled this 1 through 10. We're going to see how we feel by the time we get to the end of this. But I will say we're going to try and talk about proof. We'll talk about some flavor profiles that we get. And then we're going to start just lining them up, right? So I'm going to start right off the rip. This is going to start out as number one. Is this one going to be better or worse than that? And that's how we'll start to line things up and move things around. Let's start with number one. I think this, it doesn't seem crazy high proof. We're getting right into February here. I haven't drank that much after dry January. So this doesn't seem too hot for me. Let's think about some of these proofs right here. Let's talk about these bottles actually as we go. Wild Turkey 70th, this is an 8-year. This is obviously coming in at 101 proof. Price, availability, everything about that bottle was fantastic. Bardstown Am Root is something that I hope I'll be able to pick out. This has a very crazy mash bill sequence here. A corn mash bill of 45%, a 95.5 rye, 75% corn with some rye, 78% corn with some rye, 78% corn with some rye, Kentucky, 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 Indiana, Indiana, 9, 8, 14, 10, 11 year. And then this is finished. This is straight rye whiskey finished in Am Root fruit Indian malt whiskey barrels blended with straight bourbon whiskey. So again, that one was unique. I didn't love it, but I know a lot of people talked very highly about it. Everybody, I mean, Russell's Reserve 15, if you're watching this video, you probably know all about that bottle right here. Barrel bourbon, this is the ice wine, 5 years. This is fantastic. This is Kentucky 5 and 8 year, Indiana 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11 year, Tennessee 9 and 15 year, and then Wyoming 9 year. Sorry, yes, Wyoming. 71% corn, 24% rye, 4% malted barley, 1% wheat, because why not throw some wheat in there? And this is finished obviously in ice wine barrels. I had never heard about them before until a trip that I just took, and I actually had some ice wine. Let's stop there and let's get into glass number 2 real quick. I mean, this is going to be so freaking tough. I took some notes on our samples over here. Four Roses LE is coming in at 12, 15, 16, and 20-year-old whiskey. It's $220 and it's 108.2 proof. Our Stag 24A is 127.6 proof, 7 to 9-ish, although non-age stated, and that one's 65 bucks. Our GTS 2024 is 136.1 proof, 15 years, 2 months, and again, we're back up to $250. This is the Old Fitzgerald VVS. This was $229. This is obviously 100 proof, bottled and bond. Smoke Eye Hill, everybody heard about this. This is supposed to be the Stag killer, and then everybody tried it next to George T. Stag, and it just did not live up to the hype. I don't know if people are getting paid for these reviews or not. I am not. Then we have 13th Colony's Double Oak, the 2024 release, 133.74 proof. These two sent to us by Scott. These two sent to us by Kevin VA. Let's get back into it. Glass number 3. I mean, 1 and 2 are damn near perfection already, so let's get into glass number 3. I find that when I drink this many whiskeys in one night, I have to start with proof. The second I go through this a second time, proof is out the window. Your palate's kind of burned. You're kind of picking up flavor profiles still, but proof is so hard to hone in on after the first time through. So let's go through real quick. This one seems higher than this one. This one seems lower than this one. So that's where I'm at right now when it comes to proof. This bad boy is dark. This has to be our 13th Colony. And spicy, but so delicious. Like I said though, the lighting is a little funky, so a few of these are dark over here. I don't know if it's because of these bottles in front of it or what, but I mean, with how dark that is, that's definitely a contender for our 13th Colony Double Oak. That bad boy is dark. I mean, it's like coffee dark. That's back down into a lower proof range. I mean, what's our lowest proof here? 101 proof. The Am Root is coming in at 110 proof. The Russell's Reserve 15 is coming in at 117.2. Our Cast Ice Wine finish is 106.52. And then I talked about all of these proofs over here. So like 106, is that our lowest? 106. Oh, we have the 100 proof, obviously, the VVS coming in at bottled and bond. But let's get into our next glass over here. Proof-wise, this is the lowest one so far. That one's the most different so far. Is that the ice wine finish on there? It doesn't feel like the Am Root, but I think that's the ice wine finish on that one. I mean, so far, these three are standing out to me, taste-wise, as like exceptional. These next 4 that I've gotten to are very good, but as far as taste goes, these 3 are like what I'm looking for in whiskey. This is like your traditional bourbon flavors that absolutely stand out. The vanilla stand out, the spice stands out, the caramel stands out. A little bit more obviously oak on this one, the darker. I mean, I'm assuming this is the 13th Colony, but this one, let's get into this one. I didn't drink this one yet. I'm gonna keep these in order. That one's a little different as well. That was this one? Yeah, we got 2 more to go. I might have to move some of these bottles. This is a lot of whiskey. This is the other dark one I was talking about. Maybe that's not the 13th Colony. What else up here was super dark? I mean, that one's really good too. And last but certainly not least, our last sample, sample number 10. Moving this over. Don't think I'm cheating. Let me keep it in frame so nobody accuses me of anything here. These 2, these 3, stood out to me. A couple in here were a little funky, which I think are the ice wine finish and the Am Root finish. Don't know which one's which yet. These, what is that? 5 and 5. So these 5 back here, again, all fantastic whiskey. I cannot stress that enough. First sip through, these 5 stood out to me. So I kind of want to see where these 5 fall in line, and then I'll start moving things from there. So let's go back over to here, which is going to be glass number 2. Let's try and hone in on everything. I know I said proof the first time through. I think I have an idea on proof, so let's see what we want to do here. Feels like lower proof. I'm gonna say this is like closer to that. I'm not gonna like name exact proofs. I'm not trying to guess which one is which here. I am just trying to get a gauge of which one I like better strictly off taste. I'm just using proof as like a indicator of how much flavor should be there. So I'm trying to guess proof because that's kind of like the cask strength stuff gets a little bit more flavor than the 80 proof stuff. So again, all of these are fantastic whiskeys. They're all gonna have great flavor profiles, but I think the lower proof stuff should hit a little bit less than the higher proof stuff. So if I think it's higher proof, then maybe it'll hit a little bit better. Yeah, I'm gonna move some of these bottles out of the way. How far over can I go here? Let's just get these glasses together and move our bottles. Everything should be labeled correctly. Let's just keep them in order. There we go, much better. This one, again, I think it's a little bit lower proof. I don't think it's quite 100 proof, but it does have some very good flavors. Very light on the color, especially compared to some of these other ones that we're talking about. Still a fantastic pour. Let's see if we can get any notes off this. There's some corn sweetness on the front of this. There's some fruitiness in this, but it's like, it's almost a dark fruit, but it's not quite in your face, like almost like a grape or a plum or something like that. Again, I like the sweetness on this. There's some spice on this as well, some black pepper, some clove. This seems very simple, very basic, but still very good at the same time. By no means is this a bad whiskey. It just seems like quiet next to the rest of the whiskeys that I'm drinking. Let's move on from that. Again, I think this is lower proof. I have no that's number 1. Let's put it on number 2. Lower proof. I have no clue on a guess on this, but I don't love this one the best, but it's definitely a very good whiskey. Let's go over to number 5 right now. 5 has some astringency on the end that I don't truly love. That's something that I normally don't love in a whiskey, when that ending gives you like almost like a licoricey flavor. I wouldn't say that it's an overpowering flavor, but it's definitely there on the end. Very light on both the nose and the palate. I have been nosing these as I go through. I haven't gotten a lot off the nose on this, but a lot of sweetness on this, which I think this was one of the ones that I originally said was a little funky. Maybe this is the ice wine finish, because there is a lot of sweetness on the front of this. Again, I'm just going to move these 5 up a little bit because I'm going to start distinguishing between these last 5 that we have. I do think I like this one better than this one right here. Let's get into this glass over here. Let's move these up a little bit more. Let's get into glass number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Glass number 6. Jeez, it's going to be a long night. Okay, this one definitely hits a little bit hotter, and there's a lot of spiciness on this. That's what stands out in this glass. There's definitely a spice on this. Almost reminds me of like a Four Roses. I don't think I had the 2024 LE. I think I had a 2023 LE, but this almost reminds me of like that Four Roses spiciness on this. But it also kind of reminds me, see, the Wild Turkey 70th Anniversary Edition was a lot more sweet than a traditional Wild Turkey. So I loved that about the 70th Anniversary, where this one I feel like kind of reminds me of like a traditional Wild Turkey on steroids. Like definitely a better version of the Wild Turkey, but I think this might be the Four Roses LE. Yeah, I mean, the black pepper, the clove, the rye spice stands out in that, but that licorice at the end is where I'm really kind of thrown off by this just a little bit. This is glass number 6. I'm going to say licorice. I'm going to say Four Roses LE right now. Four Roses LE. What was the proof on that one again? 108.2. It does drink a little bit hotter than that, but who knows? I don't know. I don't think I like that one better than the other 2 that I had, so let's put that right there for right now. Okay, this is where we're going to move some things around. I think this is better than the other 3 that we just tried, so we're probably going to slide those back and put this one ahead of those 3. This has a fruity note that I absolutely love. I think it's more like an apricot, but there's definitely some zestiness behind this as well, some orange. There's some honey notes on this, but there's still some spice in the middle, and then it's not overly oaked at the end. Again, a little bit less complex, but I think what I get in this is better than what I get in these 3 glasses, but not by much. Slide this one to the front, slide these on back. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 in our back 5. Let's get into this glass right here, which is glass number, what are we at? 8 now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, glass 8. Cheers, y'all. This has got to be the Amroot, right? Yeah, I mean, there's definitely rye spice in this. And again, remember, this is rye whiskey mixed with bourbon whiskey, but the rye whiskey is finished in Amroot casks. That feels like what's going on in this glass right here. There's definitely some funkiness to this that's different than everything else right here. I didn't love this originally, but I know a lot of people out there did. Let's take one more sip. This one's kind of throwing me off just a little bit. I'm going to go back to this glass right here. I don't think it's better than these top three, but we're going to compare it to this one right here real quick to see if it deserves to jump one notch. I do. This is spicy. There's a lot of funkiness going on in this glass. So I think this glass is going to be last for right now. Then we're going to go with this glass here, then this glass here. This glass is going to be our number 2 in our back 5, and this glass is going to be our number 1 in our back 5. Let's get into these 5, and the funny thing about this is these 5 are definitely the darkest of the 10 that we have right here. So it's interesting that that age or that double oaking process definitely adds some flavor, some depth, some character that these 5 glasses are lacking. But let's get back into glass number 1 right here and try this out. I mean, that's just so freaking good. I mean, this glass is just so well balanced. There's some spiciness in this. There's some cinnamon in this. It's like a big red flavor profile. Like when you eat that big red and you take a big inhale and it kind of cools your whole palate down. That's what I get with this glass right here. Love the vanillas, love the caramels on this, but there's also so much black pepper, so much clove, and then it rounds itself out with a nice age statement on this if I had to guess. This has got to be 10 plus years. It's got to be over 120 proof. This is just such a good glass of whiskey. I put over 120 proof and big red. Again, there's a lot more going on in this glass. This is just what stands out to me. Let's get into this glass over here, which I guess is technically glass number 3. That one off the nose. This one, what is that? Listen, I know I said I thought one of these was the ice wine finish, but this has to be the ice wine finish. It tastes cold, and all of these have been sitting in the same spot in my basement. This tastes cold. I get that grapey note. I get that ice wine finish, that super sweet ice wine finish that I get on this. 106 proof kind of makes sense on this, although it does drink a little bit hot if it is 106 proof. This is another great glass of whiskey, and I think this is the ice wine finish. I'm going to guess that. I'm going to say that this is the ice wine finish, and I don't think it's better than our original glass here. How far up can I push this? Pretty far, right? But I do think that it might be second or third as of right now. Let's put it right there, and let's get into this glass over here. That's a really damn good glass of whiskey. I mean, at this point, we're splitting hairs. Listen, this is just what you're looking for when it comes to an aged whiskey. This is what you're looking for in a double oaking process. This is like a s'mores in a bourbon, right? You get that marshmallowy, that toasty note. You get that chocolatey note on this. Those dark flavor profiles shine in this glass compared to everything else that we had. And it's, I don't know what's wrong with it. That's what I'm trying to figure out. This is almost like spiciness wise. Have you ever had like black pepper, like you ate something that had extra pepper on it and it hits the back of your palate? You're not quite ready for it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really bother you too much. There's some chocolatey notes on this, some leather notes on this, some aged notes on this. There's barrel char on this. If this is 133 proof, that's absolutely impressive. Again, I think this is the double oaked, but there's one over here that might be as well. This is just, this might be maybe number 2, if not number 1. We're definitely going to revisit number 1 to number 2. I'm going to tie them up for right now. For now, I did write 13th Colony, Double Oak, S'mores, and I wrote 125 plus, easy on that one. Let's get into this glass over here. I mean, damn. Y'all are making this easy on me. I mean, that glass is straight up what you want bourbon to taste like. If an alien walked in my house today and they said, Chris, I saw your video online before I got here. I was floating around in space, and they say that you're the guy that knows bourbon. What does bourbon taste like? That's what I would give them. That's a fantastic glass of whiskey. It's so simple and yet so complex. You get sweetness, you get spiciness, you get a little bit of age on the end of this. This glass right here, I just don't know. If you don't like this, then you don't like bourbon. Now, I know there are some things that are unique out here, these 3 being that. These 3 being a little bit unique, a little bit off the beaten path from the bourbon world, but this glass right here has just honed in on everything that bourbon is supposed to be. And that's where things get tough. When you're naming the number 1 whiskey of the year or the number 1 bourbon of the year, do you want something that is legitimately the bourbon of the year, or do you want something that's a little bit off the beaten path that still tastes amazing? That's what we got to decide today. I mean, for me personally, I don't see anything beating this personally. That is literally the perfect glass of bourbon for me. I don't see anything being better than what I'm tasting in that glass right there. And that's just me personally. But let's get into our last glass right here. I mean, I might have spoke too soon. These two glasses are number 1 and number 2. These two are number 1 and number 2. Let's go through these 3 real quick. I'm going to put this one here. I think we already decided that this one fell back just a little bit. So let's go through these 2 and see which one's far ahead of the other one, because these 2 are our top 2. No questions in my mind. I mean, this one's just giving me a little bit more. This one's just giving me a little bit more of that complexity, a little bit more of the flavors. This is phenomenal. This, I think, in any other blind except for these 3 in front of it would win Whiskey of the Year. Whatever this is a phenomenal glass of whiskey, but I think this one's just giving me a little bit more. So let's go like that, and let's figure out who's going to be our Whiskey of the Year out of these 2. So here we go. I've probably kept you this is way longer than I ever wanted it to be, but we've come down to our last 2. Let's figure out who we're going to crown Whiskey of the Year. Cheers, y'all. I mean, I really have no idea. The crazy thing is they almost taste similar enough that I could say this is like George T. Stagg and Stagg 24A. That's the way I feel about these 2 right here. But if Russell's Reserve 15 is either number 3, 4, or even 5, that would be crazy to me. Let's go back one more time. I mean, this is very, very important. Whiskey of the Year is nothing we can mess around with. There it is. We found it. This glass right here gives me ever so slightly a little bit more sweetness, which is what I love in a whiskey. This is the one that I originally said nothing can beat this. This one has just, and it's by no means worse if you like this, but this has a little bit more spiciness. And when it comes to whiskey, when it comes to bourbon specifically, my palate leans towards sweetness, which is why I like this glass better than this glass. But I can promise you I could do this 100 nights in a row, and these would be 1 and 2, and they would be reversed 50% of the time. Both of these glasses are phenomenal glasses of whiskey. Even 3, 4, and 5 are phenomenal glass of whiskey, and the back 5 are still fantastic. I just don't think they live up to these top 5, but we've got to find out what they are right now. We're going to open this up. We're going to start in the back. I haven't touched it yet. Let's find out what these glasses are, starting with this glass back here, which is F. Let's find out what it is. F was our 6th glass of whiskey, A, B, C, D, E, F. I wrote licorice and I wrote 4 Roses LE. F is 4 Roses LE 2024. This glass is a very good glass of whiskey. I don't love the 4 Roses LE that I've personally tried. This one, it just gives me that licorice flavor at the end. I don't love that. Let's get into our next glass right here. Which one was it actually? I might have to run this back in post, but I can't tell which one of these glasses I put. Should I just do it right now? Hold on. Okay, this one is better than this one. So let's go with this glass right here. And this glass is C. C. is Bardstown Amroot. What did I put here? What glass number are we? I don't even know what glass number this is. They're so mixed up at this point, but I think I put that somewhere. I didn't even write anything down for 9 or 10, which I'm assuming this one is. But this is Bardstown Amroot. Another great bottle of whiskey, but I just didn't enjoy the flavor profile that I got off of this. I think that a lot of people would if you're into the whiskey world and you want to try something different. This isn't a bad glass to try, but it just wasn't for me. Let's find out what our next whiskey was, which is E. And E was a surprising one, which I've tried before in our fantasy football league, which was Old Fitz 13. The VVS, right? E, yeah. Old Fitz 13 VVS bottled and bond 100 proof. I didn't love that glass, and I still don't love it here. Not surprising for me, but maybe it is surprising for a lot of you. A lot of people had this as a top whiskey contender of 2024. Which leaves us to this glass over here, which I believe is glass number 2. I said lower proof. That's all I wrote down on this. I didn't write a lot, even though I thought I was going to. This glass is B, which is barrel bourbon. This is the ice wine finish. What did I write that down for? I didn't, but no, I wrote that down for 3. Maybe I mixed it up. Maybe I didn't. No, I didn't, because I thought that was in our top 5. This is barrel bourbon, the ice wine. This is a very good glass of whiskey. If you guys are looking for something a little bit different and you like that ice wine, you like that super, super sweet ice wine finish on this, you're not going to hate this bottle at all. Which means we're into our last of the bottom 5 that I originally picked out. These 5 I feel like were pretty easy to call compared to the top 5, so let's find out what this was. B Triangle. That one actually surprises me. That is the Wild Turkey 70th Anniversary Edition. I mean, it's really good. It's the top of our bottom, but I thought that would be a lot higher. Here's what I wrote though. I wrote orange, honey, spice, less complex, more flavor. So it's definitely there. And think about what we have left to go up against. Smoke Eye Hill, which was the GTS killer, 2024 GTS, 13th Colonies Double Oaked, Russell's Reserve 15, and a Stag Junior 24A. So for that to fall where it did, I don't think it's a bad spot for it at all. But let's get into our top 5 right now. Slide these back here just to get them out of the way. And our number 5 is going to be right here, which is going to be C. Let's find out what C was. Wow. C was 2024 GTS. Now, George T. Stagg is highly sought after. Everybody loves this bottle. I don't know how the 2024 compares to 2016 or 2017 or 2019. Or I don't drink these every year. So for me, this was like maybe my second or third experience with a sample of George T. Stagg. Great whiskey, don't get me wrong, but came in 5th out of our top 5. That's crazy. I will say this, now knowing this is 136 proof, that's kind of crazy. It definitely drinks under its proof, but it came in 5th place. Let's find out what was in 4th. And just to note, Smoke Eye Hill is still in this and George T. Stagg is out. So is it the George T. Stagg killer? I don't quite know, but let's find out our next glass right here. Cheers, y'all. A. And wouldn't you know it, Smoke Eye Hill barrel proof 131. I mean, what are we talking about? Is it the GTS killer? No, but in my blind, it beat GTS by 1 spot. So you guys can decide. That means our top 3 contenders consist of 13th Colonies Double Oaked 2024, Russell's Reserve 15, and a Stag Junior 24A. Let's find out what number 3 was right here. D. D was originally what I thought 13th Colonies Double Oaked was, and that's exactly what it was. 13th Colonies Double Oaked coming in at, what was that? 133.74 proof. Again, if you like that chocolatey, you like that leather, you like that marshmallowy flavor, you're going to love that 13th Colonies Double Oaked. Scott, appreciate you sending me that one. Absolutely fantastic whiskey. Excited to see if they continue to do that in the future, but 13th Colonies is something that you should definitely have your eye on. So we have Russell's Reserve and Stagg left, whether that's B or C. Let's find out what they are. This was our number 1. This was our number 2. And the number 1 is B dot, which is Russell's Reserve 15. I mean, this bottle right here is just so damn good. But Stagg 24A, an absolute contender at our number 2 spot. Listen, this is all just what it comes down to preference-wise. This has a little bit more sweetness on it than this glass right here. Absolute bangers at the top here. These 3 were absolute bangers as well, and all 5 of these in the back are something that you should keep your eye out for, especially for the price tag. These were all great whiskeys. 2024 had a great release. I hope 2025 goes the same way, but I want to know in the comment section below, if you did this blind and you have these whiskeys, who do you think would win? But listen, if you enjoy this type of content and you want to see more of it, make sure you click that like and subscribe button here on YouTube. Make sure you check me out on Instagram at Bourbon of the Week. Go click that follow button over there. Check out our Patreon page and our Discord. Both those links in the description below. Please don't drink and drive. Always drink responsibly. Stay healthy, stay happy, and stay trying Russell's Reserve everything, because it's just so damn good. Cheers, y'all. I should go to bed.